Getting your flat roof wrong can be a six-figure mistake. Seriously. Today, we're going to dive into the hidden world of flat roof ventilation. A topic that sounds kind of dry, I know, but it's something that most people, and even some really experienced contractors, get catastrophically wrong. And I'm not kidding about the six-figure part. Let's just start with this number, $180,000. This isn't some made-up number to scare you. This is the real-world cost of one single fundamental misunderstanding of how a roof is supposed to breathe. And that number, it's directly tied to this unbelievable scene, a school gymnasium where it was literally snowing indoors. I mean, think about that. Ceiling tiles were saturated. Ice was actually forming inside the building while students were in class. So how on earth does that even happen? Well, it all comes down to what we're calling the $180,000 climate mistake. This story is the perfect, if painful, way to understand why ventilation isn't just some minor detail you can ignore. Okay, so the setting for this disaster is Winnipeg, Canada, a place with just brutal temperature swings. We're talking minus 35 Celsius in the winter, all the way up to plus 35 in the summer. A contractor, thinking he was being really smart and creating a modern energy-saving design, meticulously sealed every single ventilation path on the school's new flat roof. He thought he was trapping heat, but what he was really doing was trapping moisture. And this is exactly what happened. All the moisture from inside the building, from people breathing, gym activities, everything, it rose up, got trapped in that sealed roof cavity, and just condensed into water. Then, when the outside temperature plummeted, that liquid water froze into solid ice. The expansion force was so powerful, it literally tore the roof's membrane system to shreds from the inside out. This whole disaster happened because of a complete misunderstanding of what ventilation is really for. Its job is about a lot more than just controlling the temperature. So let's ask the question a lot of people have. Isn't ventilation just for keeping a building cool in the summer? I mean, it makes sense, right? But that's a dangerously incomplete picture. What's absolutely crucial to understand is that ventilation's main job changes dramatically depending on where you live. In a super cold climate like Canada, its number one job is to get moisture out to prevent that catastrophic freezing we just saw. But in a hot, humid place like Florida, it's also about managing moisture, but this time to stop mold. And in a place that's constantly damp like the UK, it's a year-round battle to keep the very structure from rotting. So, here's the bottom line. A ventilation strategy that works perfectly in Arizona could be the very thing that destroys the roof in Manchester. They're not just a little different. As the source material says, they can be diametrically opposed. So how does this get so confused? Well, a lot of it comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding between the two main types of flat roofs. See, there are two basic designs, and they follow two completely different rules. First up, you've got what's called a cold roof. In this design, the insulation is placed below the main roof deck. This creates an air cavity right above it. And for a cold roof, ventilation isn't optional. It is absolutely essential to let moisture escape that cavity. Then you have the warm roof. Here, the insulation is placed on top of the roof deck. This keeps the entire structure warm and, really importantly, it eliminates that cold cavity where condensation can form in the first place. Because of this, a warm roof design often needs no ventilation at all. The difference couldn't be more clear. Cold roof, insulation is below, you've got an air cavity, and ventilation is a must. Warm roof, insulation is above, no air cavity, and you often don't need any ventilation. They are functional opposites. And this brings us right back to our opening story. The $180,000 mistake was simply applying warm roof logic, sealing everything up tight, to what was actually a cold roof design. The contractor created a perfect sealed moisture trap, and the laws of physics did the rest. This all proves one critical point. When it comes to your roof, the local climate is simply not negotiable. You can't ignore the physics of your specific environment. It will always win. And you can see how this plays out across different regions. In Canada, the focus is all in surviving those massive temperature swings. In the UK, it's a constant, relentless fight against dampness. And in a country like the United States, the strategy has to change completely from state to handle everything from Minnesota's cold to Florida's humidity. So if you do need ventilation, how much is enough? Well, here's a simple, powerful rule of thumb to remember: 1/300. What this means is that your total open ventilation area, that's if you add up both the intake and the exhaust vents, should be equal to about 1/300th of your total roof area. It's a fantastic way to just do a quick sanity check on any proposal a contractor gives you.
Okay, so knowing all this, how can you spot these problems before they turn into a six-figure disaster on your own property?
Well, the source material highlights 4 mistakes that show up again and again. Number 1 is the classic, sealing up vents to stop a leak, which just creates a much, much bigger moisture problem down the line. Number 2 is that climate mismatch we've been talking about. 3 is just stuff getting in the way, new rooftop equipment blocking the airflow. And number 4 is a big one, totally underestimating the massive amount of moisture pumped out by something like a commercial kitchen.
So, what are the early warning signs you should be looking for inside your building? Well, it's the classics. Water stains on the ceiling, a musty smell you just can't get rid of, or visible moisture, like sweating, on the walls. Those are all signs your roof can't breathe properly.
And hey, if you live in a cold climate, this is a 5-alarm fire. If you see significant ice building up on the edge of your roof or in your gutters, that is a serious red flag. It means warm, moist air is escaping, melting the snow, and that water is then refreezing. Your ventilation system is failing, period. And why is it so important to act on these signs early? Because the math is brutal. An emergency repair to a failed roof will consistently cost you 10 times more than what it would have cost to just do the proper preventative maintenance in the first place. Which leaves us with one final, crucial question you should be asking about your own property. Is your roof actually designed and built for your specific local climate? Or is it based on the experience of a contractor who remembers how things worked in a completely different part of the world? Getting that answer right is the difference between a roof that lasts for decades and one that turns into a very, very expensive mistake.